Alright, guys, I'm gonna give this a shot. Having a hard time figuring out the voice recording, so we'll see how it goes. Alright, so I'm doing an altered birdhouse, obviously, from the birdhouse there. Um, I'm just showing how to disassemble it. And what I just showed you on the bottom of the thing is it says that it's Horizon Group USA, but it's actually produced in Shanghai, China. I found that slightly entertaining. Alright, what you're going to need is a screwdriver and a pair of pliers. I'm using a pair of like little cutters because that's what was right there. You're just going to pull it apart, use a screwdriver, find it, use little cracks that you find and just pry it open. Use the pliers to pull, there's little staples out. And you just squeeze them and roll your wrist a little bit and they pop right out. It's super easy. I got these birdhouses from Walmart. Um, they're 97 cents. I have a whole crap ton of them. My mother-in-law bought me the first one, and then my husband bought me like a billion more. And as you can see, like I already did this project. I had to buy the other one so I could show you guys how to tear it apart because I forgot to turn the camera on. When you're pulling it apart, you're gonna break the base. It breaks for me every time. It's just the way it's glued and stapled together. You just take it all apart, all the pieces of the base, and then you just glue it back together with Aleene's tacky glue. Works just fine. Like I said, it happens every time for me. And then it's the base. The birdhouse is closed. You don't even see it. So, but yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Just pulling them staples. Don't if you're like me and you're using the cutters instead of pliers, don't squeeze too hard because then the staples just cut and then you can't pull them out. Right here I'm cutting the glue because the the bottom piece that broke off from the base there doesn't want to come off. It's like glued to high heaven. And while I'm working on this, my husband is standing outside my craft room window dancing at me. It was a little bit creepy. This whole part here I was talking through, but it turned out to be like a 24-minute introduction, and nobody wants to see that. Oh, right there I stabbed myself. It was kind of ironic because I was talking about, safety precautions, and then bam, flesh wound. All right, so we just take it apart. I got the base, the three pieces of the base off, and then we're gonna pull the what are they? The little dowel rods. They're for the perch for the birds for the birdhouse. I just use a little bit of an X-Acto knife to cut the glue, and then you have to be careful when you're pulling these out because if you don't, you'll crack the the faceplate there. So you just have patience, take your time, and then if you lay it flat on a table and hold it tight, and then just wiggle the dowel rods, they will eventually pop out. I'm just assembling the whole thing so it's easier for me to stain and cover with paper and then put back together. It just makes it neater. And I like to break stuff, so that's the good part about this. I actually have two of these birdhouses. The two birdhouses in the beginning, the one that I'm pulling apart right now, and the other one, I am giving away because my husband bought me a ton of them and I don't need them. So to enter the giveaway, all you got to do is leave a comment on this video and a comment. You can comment on my blog as well. You don't have to, but you can. It'll just give you two different entries if you comment on both places. And I'm gonna do the giveaway. I'll probably do the pick the drawing winner on the 15th. It's nothing major. They'll both be disassembled. There'll be two winners, one for each of them. I'll mail them out. Just be a subscriber, leave a comment, um, and yeah, I'll pick a winner on the 15th and send you a message if you win, or post a little video saying who the winners are, and you guys can contact me. It's nothing major, but I have them, so I figured I might as well give them away. You guys can have fun. All right, what I'm doing here is showing you the sandpaper. I got 220 grit and 400 grit with sandpaper. The higher the number, the lower the grit. So you start with the 220, would smooth it out, and then use the 400 to make it really soft. Here I'm getting ready to stain them. I'm labeling the backs, the parts that you're not going to see, so I can test the stain without worrying about marring it up. I'm actually using leather stain from Tangerine Leather. It works just fine. I've never tried it before, but I had it, so I figured I'd try it. And then just basic cotton balls from the dollar store. That one is not right. It's was too dark. The one I decided to go with is called Briar Brown. It is just high flow leather stain, like I said, from Tangerine Leather. I'll leave a link in my blog so you guys can check it out. Yeah, I'm going with the Briar Brown. Now I'm just picking out my papers to see what I want to use. Those two uh, uh, brain fart paper pads. Those are what those are called. The two paper pads are one's from Color Book and the other one is from K&Company, and I have them written down. I just don't have the writing with me, so I'll leave links in the down bar and on my blog. You can always get more information off my blog. I never updated it before, but now that I'm back to YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and keep it updated. So right now I'm just picking through papers and cutting stuff here and there. Or no, I wasn't cutting stuff. That's later. Here I'm just going to stain those pieces. I'm not going to make you guys watch me stain them all because it's the same thing. I'm just using the cotton ball to put it on, and then I realized the sponge would work better, so I grabbed a little sponge. I've got about 900 of those things, so I use them and throw them away. Um, it blends out. Like if you get streaks like I do right there, you just keep blending. It will blend out. It works. The leather stain worked beautifully on the wood. I don't know what got me to try it, but it definitely worked, and it's a beautiful color. The stains, my husband at one point wanted to play with leatherworking, so I bought him this big old kit, and then he's never touched it. So I stole all the fun stuff out of it, which is pretty much everything. Because I'm 4 years and he still hasn't used it, so I confiscated it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just getting the edges, and it does get on your hands, but it doesn't stain. As weird as that sounds, because it is hide stain, but leather stain. You'd think it'd stain your skin because your skin is essentially the same thing, just not dried. Yeah, I'm showing you guys. It's 2:47 a.m. when I'm working on this. I couldn't sleep. As you can see, I stained all the pieces. They didn't take long to dry at all. It was super quick. Right now, I'm picking out the paper. The individual papers don't have names to them. It's just the names of the paper pads. And I've used this for another project before. These are definitions. I'll start different words. I cut a bunch of them out, but I only end up using the one word, and it's enjoy, which you'll see at the end. But I cut these all out. I guess I could have cut this part out, but you live and you learn. I'm using a new editing program. I was using the Microsoft Windows Movie Maker, and it was just, I don't know, too simple. Like, it was so simple I couldn't figure it out, like, as far as, like, voiceover and all that stuff. So I switched over to Adobe Premiere Pro CS 5.5. It's a software. I have the whole Creative Suite. Paid a lot of money for it when I was in school to get Photoshop and Dreamweaver and Illustrator, Fireworks, all that. Excuse me. And so I have Premiere Pro. I kind of sort of know how to use it. It's been a while, so I'm having to Google how do you do this, how do you do that, but I get it figured out. So here I'm cutting out little. They're like stamps, and I don't use them, or I would bother telling you what they have on them. One has a love letter, and the other one has a key that says something or another. I don't end up using them. And here I'm picking out. I think I'm switching over to. This is the color book from Walmart, the Walmart paper brand. I love this paper. It's gorgeous. It's crazy thin. It's super thin, basic papers, but they're beautiful. They have a lot of beautiful papers in Walmart, and they're $5 for a paper pad. You can't beat that, especially when all you're doing is cutting it apart. Here I'm just tracing everything out and cutting the papers to fit. I trace them out like true to size, but when I cut them out and then I go back and cut like 1/8 of an inch off because I want the stain to show through. So that's what I'm doing now. You don't see on what you don't see on cameras. I eventually will use an X-Acto knife to cut the holes for the openings for the birds, and then I use a hole puncher to cut the openings for the little pegs. I didn't show that because when I'm using the X-Acto blade, like my head's in the way. So all you would have saw was the back of my fat head, so there's no point in it. Making sure the pegs still fit. Going again, picking out papers. This one here I put on in a way that you could see the arch of the border of those roses with the roses and stuff, just for a little bit of interest, because I knew I wasn't really going to decorate anything other than the front and possibly the roof, because where I have it put, you won't see the back. So I really didn't bother using a bunch of materials and putting in a lot of efforts to decorate the back. I just put a pretty paper on it and called it good. And here you'll see I'm measuring the side pieces, and I want to get keys off of this particular piece of paper. So you'll see me fight with a little bit to decide the best way to get the keys that I want and all that jazz. I don't like to waste paper, so I'm doing it as efficiently as possible. And you'll see there I've got one key, and then the other side I didn't want to cut another strip of the paper and waste it, so I just grabbed whatever was left. This is the roof panel, and I wanted to have a key across the top because, like, if you look at a roof, you have your shingles, but then there's always a cap on the peak. It's made of shingles, obviously, but I mean, even like with tiles or shingles or even fiberglass stuff like that, there's always a peak on it, and I wanted to use keys for that peak. So that's what you see me doing now, is picking out the keys that I want to use and cutting them the right way. And again, I probably could have cut most of this out, I'm sure you guys know how to use a paper trimmer. I'm using the Fiskars paper trimmer. Excuse me. Um, I have another Fiskars, like a little mini guillotine that I absolutely love, but it's small. It'll only cut like 8 inches wide, an 8 inch wide paper. It's really good for photos, stuff like that. And I've had that for ages, and it's still going strong. This one I've had. I mean, you probably saw it in a haul video. I've had it for like 2 years, and it's brilliant. The blades go dull real quick. That's my only complaint is the blades don't last very long. But I love the trimmer. It's always true. It's it's everything's square. It can cut 12 inches, 12 by 12. I mean, it's beautiful. I love it. So here what I'm doing is I'm cutting out and tracing around that key so I can get the shape of the key. I mean, I don't do it too detailed, just enough to get an idea. And that's going to be on the peak. Eventually, I will I'm going to rough up the edges with my X-Acto knife and distress everything cuz I'm finally learning how to use my distress inks. Had them forever, never actually used them. Here I'm using a razor blade. It's just an X-Acto easy grip knife, and I'm just running the edge of the blade straight across the edge of the paper, and it does a pretty good job of distressing it. I don't have any. I know Prima has a fancy tool, and Ranger has the fancy tool, and I'm sure there's a couple other ones. I know there's like a battery operated one you can get, and my razor blade works just fine. If I want really really heavy distressing, I just use the blade of an old pair of scissors, and it chews it up just nice. All right, I'm using Vintage Photo Distress ink, and I have two Vintage Photos. I have this one which is darker, and then I have one that is lighter. I bought one, then I was given one as a gift, and they're not the same color, not even close. So I have them. The label on the side when it sits on my shelf, I have Vintage Photo Light and Vintage Photo Dark. I don't know why it did that. Different batches, obviously. And it works out for me because it just means I didn't have to buy like Walnut Stain or any of the lighter ones because I have the Vintage Photo that's pretty light. All right, this is I stopped the recording for a bit. Probably went outside to have a cigarette, or let the pooch out, or had to go pick someone up from work. God only knows. I'm just gluing the paper down with Aleene's. Easy peasy. I love Aleene's. It's classic. It works. It's great. I always leave it tipped up right there. I'm just using a ribbon spool to hold it up, and it's not weighted down. It's not attached. It's just sitting in the hole, and it worked. So that's what I use. It's what I grabbed. If you set Aleene's right side up, it takes forever to get it out, and I don't have the patience to deal with that. Right here, you got to make sure that you get the glue around the holes so they don't tear, and put it on there even. My hands are getting all mucky nucky, but nothing a little towel can't fix. What you guys don't see is I eventually, off camera, I use a hole punch to punch a little bit of the red key paper, and I put it on the end of the dowel rods. All right, so this is this is a couple days later. It was like when the last clip ended. It was like 5 in the morning by that point, and I thought maybe I should get some sleep at some point. And here I'm trying to decide how I'm going to put it together without the best way without getting glue seepage on the outside, on the part that you see. So, I didn't let the glue gun heat up enough. I'm using my high temp glue gun and glue sticks for this, so I have more time to work. And right here, like I said, I didn't let it heat up enough, so it dried real quick, and so I used my heat gun to reheat it. It worked beautifully. It's hot glue. You can remelt it to reattach or unattach. So, as you can see, I'm only putting glue on the very inside of the seam, so if it oozes into the birdhouse and not out of the birdhouse. High temp, you got to be careful. I always burn myself, which is why I normally use a low temp, but in this particular instance, I kind of needed the extra wiggle room. Um, so the roof, and I don't like measure anything. I didn't mark anything. The only time I marked anything was for the base because I wanted to make sure it was even. But I'm just going for it. No one, I mean, it's gonna be on my shelf and look pretty. No one's gonna grab a measuring stick or measuring tape or ruler and check it. Um, And then for the base, it was centered on the base, but I decided to put it all the way back on the base to give me more room in the front for the embellishments. So right here, I'm just marking where I want it to go because I want to make sure that part's at least even. But all together, I mean, all in all, it went together even. It's all square and even and pretty. Like I said in the beginning, when you take these apart, you do crack the bases. Obviously, it's not a problem, as you can see, because I was able to glue it back together, and I just glued it with Aleene's, got it back together before I even bothered staining or putting the paper on it. Just using the Aleene's to glue the pegs in, the little dowel rods. And now I'm just kind of fiddling around trying to decide what I'm going to do. I have all those embellishments that I cut out, and all that fun stuff. And in the end, like I said, I only use one, and it says enjoy on it, and then it has the definition. There'll be detailed pictures at the end, and on my blog you'll get a closer look at that. Here I'm trying to play with the back, and like I said, there's no point in me decorating the back because no one's gonna see it. Here I'm just using that vintage photo to give it a little bit of a pizzazz, distressing. I think at some point I stopped to distress the edges, or maybe not. Maybe I did it before. Did I do it before? I didn't notice. Nope. See, here it goes. I've finally stopped to distress the edges. I don't know. I don't think I distressed the edges of the definitions because they're so small. But yeah, I didn't use these little stamps. They're beautiful. I love that paper. I've used them on many, many altered projects that you guys didn't get to see. I apologize. Um, Sometimes you don't have enough time to record. There's been times where I had 5-10 minutes to go in my craft room. This is my paper flower stash. I don't have a lot. What you do see is recollections. Um, it's just the cheap recollections. It's either that or the paper studio. It's either the Michaels brand or the Hobby Lobby like store brand, or both. I only had two of the color that I wanted up in the dark red ones. I just pulled out some actual artificial flowers. I didn't end up using them because they were too bright and too big. So here I'm just going through my mists to see what I have to be able to recolor these. They're paper flowers, but I'm telling you guys, they can be painted, they can be stained, they can be sprayed, they can be repainted. As long as you let it dry before you get too rough with it, it holds together just fine. It's acrylic paint. I mean, you can use acrylic medium for glue, so why not use acrylic paint to paint with? It's going to dry and it's going to be solid and it's going to be just fine. And they have sticky on the back of them, like they're self-adhesive. They have foam on the back, and that's what I'm using to stick them to my pad. And I used a reddish spray. It's nothing but acrylic paint and water. That's all it is red acrylic paint and water. And then this one I'm using is a metallic like bronze craft paint. It's just the cheap Walmart brand, maybe craft stores from like AC Moore or something. It's just the cheap, 40-50 cents a bottle. I've had this stuff for years. The metallic bronze that I use, the brown color, that's actually left over from when I repainted my countertops. We had ugly countertops when we moved in. They were hideous, and we couldn't afford new countertops, so I just painted them and sealed them. And they're beautiful, and 2 years later, they're still holding up just fine. So here I'm trying to create like a darker um, red color, not so vibrant. So I added a little bit of purple to maroon it up a bit, and then the brown to muddy it up a bit. I guess that'd be the best way to put it. And I'm just painting flowers. That's all I'm doing. I cut most of this out. There's only a few here. There we go. Most of my flowers are painted. Okay, I'm using a Quick Cuts dye right there. It's a Key to My Heart dye. I got it from scrapbooking something or another. It's an online store. It's not even open anymore, I don't think. I'll check. If it is, I'll leave a link. I think I paid like 89 cents for the dye. There's two dyes. There's the heart and then the key. And I'm just running it through my Big Shot on some scrap paper. I think I did it. I already put some together before I started recording, so you guys didn't have a bunch of BS to watch. So I have right now I think there's 4 put together, and then I'm gonna add a couple more. There we go. Zoom in. I'm gonna be off camera. I'm trying to get better at that. But yeah, I'm just gluing them on top of each other just for dimension to make it look thicker. I'm using Aleene's and a little paintbrush. The Aleene's doesn't hurt the paintbrush as long as you rinse it right away. If you put it in water and clean it right away, it doesn't hurt at all. I'm not too picky. I don't buy expensive paintbrushes. I buy them on sale, buy them in bulk, buy them at Walmart. I get a lot of them from the kids section because if kids can't hurt them, I sure as hell can't. And if they're cheap, and they get gummed up or glued up, I'd use them for something else. I use them to make marks and funny lines, and I even had one that worked to do calligraphy, with black paint. So you never get rid of your paintbrushes until they are way dead. Alright, I'm just drying the flowers. I, again, cut most of this out. So I just wanted to show you guys that you can get up close into those flowers and really dry them out, and you're not going to hurt them at all. And my heat gun gets hot, which is why I have the pliers. And I don't know if I cut it out or not, but at one point I had to stop doing what I was doing for about 5 minutes. There we go. I have an old craft mat under my Ranger sheet, just to make it easier to store, because I was having to roll it up and then it was getting all wrinkled. So I just glued it to an old Ucky craft mat. I have 3 of them. I have this blue one. I have an old one that you guys see all the time that I beat up on for mixed media. And then I have a brand new one that I got for Christmas that I only use for card making and scrapbooking and nothing too like dirty. Um, Here I'm using some antique Inca gold enamel from Folk Art. It's cheap craft paint from Walmart. Um, to paint this, I put a couple coats on it, and then when I dry it, which you'll see here in a minute, I overheat the paint. I really heat it up and get it all bubbly and textured, and it looks awesome. I just glopped it on as heavy as I could without filling in the little holes and textures of the shape of the key. Sorry, got it on there thick enough and kept heating it until it gave me this really cool texture. And then I spray it with moon. It's Moon Shadow Mist, Lindy Stamp Gang Moon Shadow Mist. Again, the products will be on my blog. You can just go check there. And then this here is I want to show you guys how I correct this. I think I left all this in here. I could be wrong. But the particular flower that I painted, after it dried, it took on like this blue hue. It was supposed to be a cream color, like a creamy brown, like a light brown. And I think my phone just rang on this in the video in the corner. I don't think I answered it though. But once it dried, it ended up taking on like a blue tint, and I didn't like it. So I just grabbed some more paint, and I'm globbing it on. Like it's going on so thick, and it's not a problem. You guys will see in the pictures, they're still just as pretty. I mean, I'm not gonna. Those particular flowers that I had, I think I bought like off of a D-Stash sale. Just Melody, or I can't even remember. Somebody that I subscribe to. If I remember her name or remember to, I'll leave a link for her channel. She does a lot of mixed media and card making and stuff, and she was doing a D-Stash sale, and I bought it because she was selling a bunch of Stampin' Up! Inks, and the flowers happened to come with it. Alright, this year, I left this in here. I had cut it out, and I'm like, no, I'm putting it back. I have an art journal, big, chunky art journal that you guys have seen in a video that I just uploaded. And I have it set open to a scrap page no matter what I'm doing. And if I have excess paint, excess sprays, excess washi tape, I mean anything, glue and collaging and you name it. Again, I'm putting the Moon Shadow Mist on this just to give a little bit of texture. But anyways, the art journal, I just glob it on. And when I feel like the page is done, I add a focal point and then move on. I don't like wasting paint. I don't have a lot of money, as I've said. So I use every bit of what I can. And even stuff I shouldn't can. Like my first ever and favorite art journal is made out of cereal boxes. You guys have seen it. I love it. Alright, so I'm just trying to arrange and decide what I'm doing. I have, the bottle cap is from Erie Brewing Company. It's a local brewing company to me. And my brother-in-law, him and my sister live with me. And the gentleman that he works for owns the Erie Brewing Company. And so he brings home free beer at points. Like a sample here, sample there. And that one was from Black Cherry Ale. And it happened to be sitting on my craft desk. And I don't know, the color suited. And I like the font that was on it. It's all like old looking. So I used it. Why not? It just says Erie Brewing Company. Nothing major. It was on Black Cherry Ale that nobody else liked but me, which is weird because I don't drink. I don't drink beer. Occasionally I'll have a mixed drink, wine cooler, some wine, but that's pretty much it. But this ale, nobody else liked it, but I did. It was delicious. So I'm just rearranging as I dropped the key in the hole, and I had to take everything back off and get the key out. I was still playing with those definitions, just reworking it until I find what I like and what I don't like. You can see some beads laying there, some strung beads. I was going to try to make like a bead garland, and I didn't like it, so I cut all that footage out because what's the point? Because I don't end up using that string of beads. Here, I don't want to flatten the bottle cap. It came off perfectly. You couldn't even tell it was on a bottle, but it was. I assure you, I took it off. But it's hollow on the inside, so I needed a way to be able to glue it on. So I just put 2 layers of the cheapy Walmart foam dots, stacked 2 of them, put it in there, and then hot glued them. So I didn't have to fill the stupid thing with so much hot glue. In here, I just added a little like a round bead thing that I found in my bead box, the little red circle there. I ended up adding a brown flower, like a brown beaded flower, at some point. And here, I'm just gluing everything on, deciding what I'm going to do. I take this definition and I curl opposite corners to give it the word enjoy, to give it a little bit of dimension and smushing and whatever you guys want to call it. And here I realized I needed some more flowers on top, so I messed with it here and there, and I ended up taking those ones off and pulling the foam off because you could see it from the top, and it was driving me nuts. I mean, probably could have just painted it brown and you wouldn't notice, but that's not how my brain works. So I think at this point it is done. Here I'm adding that little brown flower bead, like I said. You'll see it in the pictures. And all that's left is the key. And it's made of paper. It's just paper and paint from a die. Lots of layers. And here you can see me messing with that bead garland, and it just wasn't working for me. So I just nixed it. Not a problem. And here I'm, excuse me, toying with the idea of putting a big old gemstone on top, but that don't work either. So that's pretty much the end of it. There's some pictures here if you guys want to enter the giveaway. Check for details in the down bar. Check out my blog. Why is the picture? There we go. And there are more pictures in the blog, like showing the sanding process because I did sand them, all that stuff. There will be lots of details in the blog. Check that out. And like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.